Hey guys, it's Tom from FTC Team 4717, the Micromancers, and today we're going to be creating our first part in Onshape. So to give you guys some background on Onshape, Onshape is a browser-based CAD software, and everything is stored in the cloud, so you don't really need to have anything on your computer. Everything is stored in the cloud. And we use it because it's really good for collaboration. You can create versions of parts, and while one person is working on the assembly, you can have another person working on the part and just create a version. So we really appreciate the advantages that Onshape provides when working in a team, which is why we use it and why we suggest you guys should use it as well. So like I said earlier, we're going to be creating our first part in Onshape today. So I'm going to be creating a folder for all of the parts to go in throughout the video series, and we'll share that folder in the description below. The reason I'm going to create a folder is because it's really good to have things organized, and you can have folders and folders and folders inside of each other, but right now we're just going to create one folder for all of our parts. So to create a folder, you have to click on the create button and press folder. Now you have to name your folder, so we can name it tutorial. It really doesn't matter what you name it. And then press enter. As you can see here, it has a new folder here called tutorial that I created today, and we can open this and create a document, which is where we're going to be designing our parts. So we can name it first part and then press OK. So this may seem a bit intimidating, but it's really not that hard to understand, and we'll get you through it. So as you can see at the bottom here, it shows Part Studio 1. A part studio is where you design your parts and basically create your parts. You can have multiple parts in one part studio, and your parts doesn't necessarily have to be in the same part studio, but you can have it there if you would like. And we'll get into assemblies later, but assemblies, a brief description of assemblies is that where you basically put all your parts together to see if it fits. But right now we can just delete that since we're creating our first part. So we can press right click and delete. So now we're going to create a rectangular prism, and to do that we have to create a sketch. So as you can see here, there's a sketch button. So we click on that and it shows this pop-up tab here and it says sketch plane. So if you've ever used CAD before, you always have to pick a plane where you want to sketch on. You might be wondering what a plane is. So you can see here, there's the front plane, the right plane, and the top plane. It doesn't matter what plane you use, but you have to make sure you're looking at that plane. So here's the top plane, this is the front plane, and you can use this cube here to kind of look around, or you can click on the middle mouse button and you should be able to look around. Click on the right plane, and yeah, you can click the plane that you like. I normally click on the front plane. It really doesn't matter what plane you pick, like I said before. So I'm going to be clicking the front plane, and as you can see here, that changed the front plane, and it's yellow now whenever we hover over it. So now we can drag this anywhere we want, so we can put this right here just to get it out of the way. So if we wanted to create a rectangular prism, there are two ways you can do this, or three ways you can do this. The first way is by using the line tool and just doing lines that are in a straight line. So you can tell if it's a straight line with that yellow highlight over the line. So we can just do that and then bring it down to that. Do that. Do that. So as you can see here, this line seems a little crooked, so you might want to constrain. So there are these constraints here, and there are all of these constraints. It might seem a little weird at first, but you can see there's an equal constraint. So you can literally just press on the equal constraint, click on the two lines that you want to be equal, and there you go, they're both equal. So that's one way to create a rectangle, and we can dimension each side. So if we click on this side, we can bring up the dimension and we can drag this dimension. As you can see, we can put it anywhere we want. We can put it here, we can put it there. So I like to put it on top of the length that I'm dimensioning, and we can put this to 3 inches. And same thing on this side, we can put this to 1.5. And you can put in millimeters as well, whatever you want. Oops. Back to the front plane. And you can put in millimeters, so you can do 1.5 mm, and I'll bring you like that. So that's a little too small, so I'll put 1.5 inches. So yeah, and to bring it back to the front plane, you just click on the button here. And there you go, you already have a rectangle already done. And so now we can click on the check button. If we click the X, it's going to delete this, and the sketch won't be there anymore. So we want to click on the check mark and make sure not to press on the X. So as you can see here, we have our sketch here, and we can move around and look at it, and it looks nice. So now we go back to the front plane, and to make it 3-dimensional, we have to extrude this. So sketches are 2-dimensional, but to make it 3D, you have to press extrude, which is right next to the sketch button. And there are multiple buttons you can press here, but right now we're just going to focus on new, and we just press sketch 1, or you can click on the face here. And as you can see, it's 1 inch deep, so this distance to this distance is 1 inch. We can make that 1/4 inch, and click on the check mark. So we can make sure it's 1/4 inch by clicking on this tool, clicking on this line to this line. So as you see in the bottom, it says 0.250, and this is a useful way to to check dimensions. You can't really change this dimension, but it's a useful way to check the dimension. If you want to always go back and apart, see how long you made it, how deep you've made it, etc. So we can click on the tape measure here, and shows the measure details. So it'll tell you the X, Y, and Z coordinate, it'll tell you the minimum distance, the parallel distance, and the length. So the length of this point to this point is 6 inches. So this part looks quite nice, but you might want to change the color of it. So we can do so by clicking on the top button here on the right side on the appearance panel. And then you see how it says part 1. You want to double click this and then choose the color that you like. And you can put in a custom color here, or the number, the RGB value there. Or we can just pick something from here. We choose gray. We can do that. We can put green. That looks nice, so I guess we'll do that. And yeah, there you go. You have a green part, a green rectangular prism. And we can close this out by clicking that. So to go back to the front plane, we just click on that. So you created your first rectangle, but as you can see, the center of the rectangle is not at the origin. And that might be something that you want to be. So you want the center of the rectangle to be at the origin. So what you can do, instead of using lines in your sketch, and I just opened this up by double clicking this, what you can do by, instead of using lines, you can delete all of these, which deletes the dimensions as well, since the lines aren't a thing anymore. So that, there's a rectangle tool here. So there's a corner rectangle. If you click on the drop down, you'll see center point rectangle. So if you choose center point rectangle and you choose the origin, it'll go out as you bring your mouse out, and it'll go in all directions. It'll be equal to the parallel direction. So as you see, if I just make that and then dimension each side to 3 inches, so make this side 3 inches, makes this side say 6 inches. So you just create a rectangle, and the center is at the origin. So this might be better in some scenarios. It really depends on what you need. And then we don't need this dimension tool. And so that's another way to create a rectangle. And since we already have this extrude done, it'll already like change the extrude. So now if you go back to the front plane, you can see this is clearly at the middle of the rectangle, but the color changed because we changed the part. So basically the part got deleted and then a new part got created. So we can change the color again by going back here and just changing the color, something nice like that, and then close this. So that's another way. And then the other way would be to get this corner rectangle. So maybe if we want to create a rectangle from here to here, like from the, so we want like something like this. Oops. We want something like this. Well, this thing doesn't really look like it's in the exact center. The center of this rectangle is not the center of the outer rectangle. So we can dimension it by clicking on the top line of this to the top line of this. And we can make this 0.25 inches. And then we can do the same thing here, 0.25 inches inwards. And then this got moved because that is being like that. So, okay. So now this is 0.25 inwards, this is 0.25 outwards. Now we can dimension these. And as you see, this entire rectangle is black. Before it was blue. If it's blue, that means it's not constrained. So by constrained, I mean that it can't move at all. So if you move this rectangle, it won't move. So if we try to move this point, it won't move because it's all constrained. And as you can see, there's a rectangle inside this rectangle, which is cool. And then we can close this, and you can see it removed from the other outer rectangle. So that's a nice feature that you can do. Alright guys, that's it for today. You created your first part, woohoo! But that's the end of the video, and thank you guys for watching, and we really hope you come back to watch our video series on Onshape. And adios!